Good morning, students. New chapter that is called transportation. It is a part of the life processes. We will discuss this transportation mainly in the plant and in the human being. But why transportation is essential? What is the essential need of transportation? What is the significance of transportation? What things will be transported? And where it has been transported? Firstly, we will have to discuss through these particular points. Number first, the all living bodies need nutrients and oxygen in every cells of the various tissues to sustain life. As you know, that individuals are unicellular to multicellular. Through this unicellular to multicellular, it is called cellular level, tissue level, organ level, and organism level. All these things are gradually just going to complex. Cellular levels, unicellular is somewhat very much simple. Cellular level, somewhat more complex than unicellular. Tissue level, somewhat more complex than cellular level. And gradually, the organism level is very much complex. So, it is very much essential that each and every needful substance would be transported to the particular part, to cytoplasm, where the metabolic activity will be taking place. Secondly, the transport of different materials and gases is essential both in plants and animals. Transport of different materials and gases. Transport of different materials and gases is essential both in plants and animals. Why this essential? For the metabolic activity. Why this gases? Oxygen for the oxidation and removal of the carbon dioxide is also very much essential phenomena, because without removing the toxic substance will be accumulated inside the body. So for the excretion point of view, so overall we can say that the digestion, respiration, excretion, all are involved in this particular transportation, because the digested food will move from the alimentary canal to the cell. It is one of the part of transportation. After metabolic activity, the waste product, mainly in the nitrogenous waste, that will be removed out through kidney. That is also the transportation. In the case of plant, the absorbed water and minerals will be moved from the root to the different part of the plant, as well as leaf. That is also part of transportation. So we will discuss in detail how transportation takes place, but before how, we will have to discuss why transportation is essential. Thirdly, the unicellular doesn't need transportation, but diffusion is the process of fulfill the need. Here we will see that the unicellular individual. In unicellular individual, it has been seen, suppose it is amoeba. Then what happens in amoeba? The food taken by pseudopodia in form of food vacuole, and that is called phago or pinocytosis. Now what happens after that? Whenever the food will convert into a food vacuole, there is a movement, and this is called cyclotic movement. And during this movement, the digestion will be started. After digestion, the food will move to the cytoplasm through diffusion. And if the mitochondria is here, then in mitochondria, that glucose or the pyruvic acid will be ultimately converted into ATP, that will if they produce any nitrogenous waste or any excreta, it will be eliminated through the diffusion process. So we can say that in unicellular individual, the transportation or the vascular tissues will not be formed, but the diffusion is the main process of the transportation, but transportation is also takes place in that particulars. In cytoplasmic streaming movement is essential to distribute the substances. Here we have seen that cyclotic movement is essential for the distribution of the foods. In higher organism, just like in case of the plant and in case of the animal, in case of the human being mainly, plant, that is plant. What happens in plant? Here we have used vascular tissue, vascular system. Vascular tissues are those particular tissue which is tracheids like, vessels like, tube like, and they are responsible to conduct the either food to the essential part or waste to the body, from the waste of the body to the exterior outside. So it is very much essential that the vascular system should be there, and in plant we will see that the xylem and phloem, this both are the vascular tissue. What happens in this, we will discuss it. We know, we have discussed in 9th class that xylem have tracheids, vessels, parenchyma and sclerenchyma. Xylem, we have discussed in 9th class that xylem have tracheids or vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem sclerenchyma, and they are responsible to conduct water and minerals from root to different parts of plant. How it will move, we will discuss it later on. This phloem, it is also a conducting tissue, it is also the vascular part of the plant, and it has sieve tube, companion cell, phloem parenchyma and phloem sclerenchyma. And they are responsible to conduct prepared food by leaves to different parts of plant, and that is called translocation. This particular phenomenon is called translocation, and Munch has proposed an hypothesis, and according to this Munch hypothesis, it will be transported from the leaf to the different part of the plant. Now, there are certain points on gradually we will discuss what happens in the plant. Number first, that is the absorption. Absorption of water and minerals in plant. If you see the TS of the typical root, then we will observe that there is a epidermal part, and this epidermal part, some of the epidermal tissue or the epidermal cells of the epidermis may convert into root hair, and it is unicellular, and it has been seen that it is made up of, it is covered by the cell wall made up of cellulose. Here is a inner wall, endodermis. Endodermis has also this type of cell wall. This type of cell wall. Start. Okay, and this particular have Casparian strips. This particular have Casparian strips. These Casparian strips do not allow the water molecule or the solution to pass through it. Suppose it has xylem. Suppose this is the xylem. And it is the mesophilic cells. The middle part is the mesophilic cells. And it is also have covered. This is cell wall. This is also cell wall. Now what happens whenever the water molecule or the solution will come in contact with this part, then it moves in two ways, either through this or through this. These are the two ways of the movement of this one. Through cell wall and through cytoplasm. If it is through cytoplasm, that is called symplastic movement. Symplastic movement. And if it is through cell wall, it is called apoplastic movement. Apoplastic movement. Now we will see here, whenever this start to move, it will go through this one and ultimately it come here. There is direct connection. But if it will move, then it will go through this one, then to this one, and ultimately it will come here. But it can't pass it because it has a Casparian strips, and Casparian strips is the deposition of fat. So the symplastic, this particular cell wall, apoplastic, cannot come in contact. Apoplastic absorbed material cannot come in contact with the xylem. So what happens? Ultimately it will come through it. Now this particular solution plus water etc. minerals will move here, यहाँ आ गया, where in the xylem, root xylem. Now the question that how this particular absorbed material will move up to the top of the plant, because you know that the plant may be of the large size or the small size, and what happens in the large size root we will discuss here, and that is called, first of all it is called absorption. Now we will discuss that ascent of sap. Ascent of sap means if the root to the xylem. Now how this xylem carry that particular absorbed water and minerals up to this mark. This is the main question, and it is called shoot xylem. The absorbed water must be at the stomata. It should come in contact with it should reach up to the stomata through shoot xylem. This is the major question, that how it will go to the 10-meter long, 20-meter long, 100-meter long trees, and how it will go out. This is called ascent of sap. Here two theories are mainly proposed by the different scientists. Number one is the root pressure theory. According to this theory, the root absorb the water and minerals and make a pressure, upward pressure, to move that particular water and minerals to form the water column. It is called water column. Water column. Now the question that the pressure is enough to make that particular water column in the 20 or 30 or the 40 meter long tree. An experiment has been performed that this particular root pressure theory is correct or not. For this purposes, what happens? We have collect a water that is a pot having a balsam plant. We detop it. We detop it and ultimately join it with the rubber joining and and connect it with the glass tube like this. We will observe that water will come here and ultimately at this distance. Now, who is responsible for this particular movement? It means the root exert the pressure, and that pressure is responsible for the movement of that absorbed water and mineral up to that particular marks. But in addition to that root exert a pressure, it has been also observed that that pressure is not so enough to make a column, the continuity, a column up to that long tree. So the second theory, that is called transpiration pull theory, and that is called physical theory. According to this theory, two forces are responsible for the formation of this column. One force at this point and another force at this point. This force is called cohesive force, and this force is called adhesive force. It means this two force, the cohesive force in between two identical, suppose it is water molecule, that this force between these two identical molecule is called cohesive force, and this is the xylem wall and this is the water. So the force between this particular non-identical particle, that is called adhesive force, and these two forces are responsible for the formation of the water column. One thing that is called cohesive and adhesive force is responsible for the formation of the water column. Now, next question, that how this water column will be continued. So, transpiration pull is responsible for it. According to the scientist, transpiration pull is responsible for the conduction of this particular, or the propagation of this particular, or the continuation of this particular water column. What happens whenever in daytime, suppose this one is the stomata, and this is the guard cell, this one is the guard cell. We will discuss it in higher classes, that how stomata open or closed. But it has been proved that whenever the chemical substance present in the guard cell becomes soluble, they start to absorb water by the process of diffusion, or it may be osmosis. That may be it is osmosis, not diffusion, because the cell wall and the cell membrane, mainly cell membrane, is semi-permeable, so we can't say that it is diffusion, but it is by the osmosis. What happens? The water move inside the cell, so it is called endosmosis, and by the endosmosis the water will be accumulated inside it to increase turgor pressure, that is called turgor pressure, and this turgor pressure, increasing the turgor pressure, is responsible for the opening of this stomata, and whenever the stomata will open, then water molecule move out in form of water vapor. Now whenever this water molecule go outside, then this water molecule fulfill the place. Again, like this, what happens? This water will come, and ultimately this column will be formed, continued. And this is the process of the transportation in plant. We must know that the transpiration is the process in which the water molecule move outside the plant in form of water vapor. Water vapor through stomata, lenticles and cuticles. But the movement, if in form of the water vapor from the plant, water to water vapor through stomata, that is by stomatal transpiration, lenticle through lenticular transpiration, cuticle through cuticle transpiration. So we can say that the transpiration will be of three types, that is stomatal transpiration, cuticular transpiration and lenticular transpiration. But in all cases, the water will move outside the plant in form of water vapor. Now, the rate of transpiration is depend upon, number one, surface area of the leaf. The larger the surface area and greater the rate of transpiration. Wind velocity. It is also, the larger the wind velocity, greater the rate of transpiration. Temperature variation. If the outer temperature, or we can say that the external temperature is greater, then the rate of transpiration is also greater. It is also depend upon the water vapor present outside the, or you can say that the outside the leaf or the inside environment, then it is reverse transpiration. It means the greater the water vapor, lesser the rate of transpiration. In addition to that, age is also responsible for it. If the new plant, new leaf have greater transpiration rather than that of the old, because in old leaf it has been observed that the cuticular layer will be there, or the waxy deposition will be there, and due to that the rate of transpiration may sustain or may minimized. So overall we can say that this is the process of transpiration, and just we have told you that the translocation is the process of the movement of the food prepared by the leaf to the different part of the plant through phloem. That is all about the transpiration.